Hello, class. I am going to explain to you how to do your comprehensive curriculum development plan phase 1 in this video. My name is Maria Rutherford. I am the Associate Professor for Early Childhood Education here at Bluegrass Community and Technical College. And I would just like to welcome you to my classroom. First thing I need to talk to you about, basically, what is a curriculum plan? Well, my definition for a curriculum plan is this. It's like a map that a teacher uses to guide teaching from August to May. Now, if you were thinking about going from Kentucky to Minnesota, the first thing you would do is probably get online, and you would go to Google Maps, and you would Google which highways you were supposed to take when you're driving. And you would lay out a plan on how to get there. And most of the time you would get a map, and you would actually trace or highlight how you were going to get from Kentucky to Minnesota. Well, that's what a curriculum plan does for a teacher. It specifically focuses on an age group. So, for instance, in a daycare situation, in my daycare, Abundant Life, we have 6 weeks old to 4-year-olds. And even in the infant room, the infants, the toddlers, the 2-year-olds, the 3-year-olds, the 4-year-olds, all have a curriculum plan from August till May. And it's built, number one, on their developmental milestones, on that continuum that Piaget tells us that all children develop on. That's the first thing. The second thing that it is based on is developmentally appropriate practice. What is developmentally appropriate for a toddler is not developmentally appropriate for a 3-year-old. So, that's the second thing. So first thing is their developmental milestones. The second thing is developmentally appropriate practice. Now, at Abundant Life, we also use an already existing curriculum, and that curriculum is called ABECA. And ABECA is a very traditional-based curriculum. And remember, traditional, when I explained that to you, it focuses on phonics, it focuses on math, and it focuses on what I said, reading, writing, and math. And it begins to incorporate those things at age 2 in that curriculum. Now, over the years, I have become early childhood smart, and I have learned that traditional approach to teaching children who are 2, 3, and 4, and 5, that the traditional curriculum works. And I will tell you that ABECA is an exceptional curriculum. But where ABECA fails is that it does not incorporate developmentally appropriate practices that we must incorporate into our centers to be star rated or even to be looked at from the state as being acceptable programs. So what we have done is we have combined the ABECA curriculum with developmentally appropriate practice and the developmental milestones, and we've interlocked them together in our own curriculum plan for each age. And that map guides the teachers from August till May. And it's amazing because if a child comes to us and they stay with us from the time they are toddlers through their end of their 4-year-old program, we see the same results in probably 90% of our children, because that map continuously guides children to that point. And that's what a curriculum does. It gives you that map to move. So the first thing you need to do is decide what age are you going to choose to do this particular curriculum plan for phase 1. Okay, so first thing you need to do is print off the template for the comprehensive curriculum development phase 1 that is located in your course forms. So click on that and print it off. And then I would open it up in Word, because you will be able to type in that document. If you're not, hit the button at the top that says Enable Editing. Okay? So you're going to open up the template in Microsoft Word. And here we have the first page. So let's look at this. If you will notice, right here in the yellow, it has first term, August through September, beginning testing. Example for a 4-year-old plan. So this actually comes from my 4-year-old plan at Abundant Life. Okay? Now you have these categories that run down the side: Arts and Humanities, Art Center, Music Center, Dramatic Play Center, Sensory Center, English/language arts. Okay, that's on the first page. So what you're going to do is, first of all, you're going to look at these centers, and for the month of August and September, what do you want to do in those centers? Like this Arts and Humanities, I have picked an African theme. Okay? That's my theme for August and September. That means my classroom is actually going to be decorated in African culture. All right? In the Art Center, I'm going to introduce the children to Play-Doh, because at the beginning of their 4-year-old program, they are going to start using pencils and actually writing their letters. That's part of the Abeka part. And in order for me to get their hands ready to do that, I have to use Play-Doh to actually help maneuver those muscles in their hands to get them ready for that. I also want to introduce them to classical art pieces, so I'm introducing them to Monet. And so I bring in Monet pictures, and I begin to show them and let them experience classical art pieces, and we create replicas of Monet. We do different types of things. Okay? In the dramatic play area, again, my theme is African, so I'm doing Africa. So I have safari stuff in there. I have African dress-ups, all different sorts of things. In the sensory center, because Africans' houses are made out of mud a lot of times, then I work with mud and dirt and water and sand and water. So I'm constantly turning those over in my sensory centers during the month of August and September. In English and language arts, I'm working with the name, the sound, and pictures of the vowel sounds. I start out with I go to U, I go to E, I go to A, I go to O, and then I add a consonant, which is the letter T. So I'm working on beginning sounds, I'm working on reading from left to right, and I'm working on how and where questions. So those open-ended questions that we talk about in good developmentally appropriate curriculums, I'm constantly saying, how do you do this? Where do you put this? Where is this? How did you come up with this idea? So those are constantly engaging, open-ended questions that I am intriguing children with during the months of August and September. So if we go on to page 2, again, there's answer what questions uses pronouns I, you, and me, because you know that sometimes they get those confused. So we're constantly saying, I will do this, you will do this. Can you come see me? And pointing to me. In poetry, we have different poems that we have to learn. So we learn the Indian Child, What Is It, Hands and Shoulders, and Happy Thought. Now those poetry, you can get your own poetry wherever you want. You may pick out 2 or 3, 4 poems that the children need to be learning. But this is part of that multiple intelligence, smart, creative things that you need to be incorporating, that interdisciplinary part, into this comprehensive curriculum plan. And poetry is part of that. Your writing center, writing the first name in manuscript. Some of you may use a curriculum in writing called No Tears. So writing with no tears. So incorporate that into your writing center. And letters learned, the lowercase. They need to begin to, at 4 years old, they need to learn the difference between a lowercase and an uppercase. And so a lot of times I will write morning messages and we will circle uppercase letters, we will circle lowercase letters, we will circle punctuation, we will do all kinds of things. And then you'll see them in the writing center, they will begin to mimic some of that writing. Now, fine motor comes from the developmental milestones. So you need to go to the developmental milestones for that age, and you need to pretend that the birthday of all of your children is July. So starting with July, where should they be at the end of September in their developmental milestones? And those are in fine motor, and you need to put those in there and then assess them. See, that's the whole point of this, is you have created this curriculum. You've created what you're going to be working on. These are not your lesson plans. It's only a map. And from this, you pick your Kentucky Standards of Learning that you're going to work on, and you pick the assessment that you're going to do. And that's in phase 2 and 3. So we're not worried about that right now. What we're worried about is what you're going to teach. But the things that you're going to teach have to be accessible. You need to be able to assess them. But these fine motor skills are based on that continuum. So they have to be developmentally appropriate for that age. These are the fine motor skills for a 4-year-old. So if you're picking 3, then you need to go find out what the fine motor skills are for a 3-year-old whose birthday is in July. Math, Where do you want your kids to start in August, and where do you want them to end in May when it comes to math? Now, some of you all, your center may not want them to count. Your center may not want them to write, those types of things. But you need to realize that we're looking at school readiness. And so for a 4-year-old, they need to count 1 to 10. They need to recognize the concepts. Well, a 4-year-old really needs to count 1 to 20 before they go into kindergarten. But for August and September, we're working on 1 to 10. And we're working on actually counting objects 1 to 6 and 1 to 10. And recognizing all of our shapes. And see, I've got the shapes listed there that I'm going to actually test them on. And then I'm going to test them on their colors. And writing the number 1. And patterns, A, B. A pattern meaning A, B, or blue, green, blue, green, blue, green. That's the pattern. And then I get into more complex patterns as we move through the months. Next is the block center. The block center is building structures out of mud bricks because we're going back to that African theme. Health education is learning how to wipe their nose with a tissue, turning the faucet on and off when they go to the restroom, brushing their teeth, dressing without assistance, putting on their shoes. These are things that you can do with self-help skills. That's what these are. And they can be listed in their developmental milestones as well. Physical education, I incorporated this because of obesity being so rampant in our early childhood kids. And so I do dance, I do skills like playing baseball, learning how to play, run from home to first base to second base to third base and back to home. We do some kickball, we dance African, we have a petting zoo, we play a safari game, and we're constantly playing these over and over and over during those 2 months. Gross motor is back to the developmental milestones. That's where I got those, based on the kid who has a birthday in July. And then science. I'm looking at animals that live in Africa, animals that live on the farm, animals that you pet. Those are things that I'm looking for in science. In social studies, I'm dealing with community helpers, the firemen, police officers, and veterinarians. I'm dealing with separating from parents, playing with others in associated play rather than parallel play, which they came out of as 3-year-olds, telling their full name, which is something they need because of strangers, calling attention to their own performance, paying attention to detail. Are you scribbling your coloring pages, or are you staying in the lines? Paying attention to what colors you color certain things. Now, a lot of times I have them pay attention to detail, but then other times I don't, because I just want them to be able to move in their own imagination. So this concludes phase 1 of the Comprehensive Curriculum Development Plan. So you're going to take it from August till May, working through those columns on that basis as a child would move. So there's a lot of work to it, but once you finish it, you will understand how a child should move. And you as a teacher are constantly updating your classroom to move with the child as they grow emotionally, physically, socially, cognitively, all of those ways, because that's your job, to move them from August to May and move them through the map so they get from point A to point B. I hope this has helped you. Have a great day.